No one is allowed to teleport but me!
You're gonna kill me!
John just spit Snapple all over his back.
I did spit on my man.
Welcome to the Kindred Spirit Podcast, a show all about the board game Spirit Island. Here we'll talk about analytics and strategies within the game, as well as a plethora of other topics that can be found within it. Today we examine the aspect cards for Shadows Flicker Like Flame, along with commentary from all of you!
Yay!
It's gonna be a good one!
Episode.
Woo! Woohoo!
Woo.
Okay, I've noticed that I've always started these last few episodes by saying, alrighty, alrighty,
so
listen
we're
to this one, alrighty, listen to that one, alrighty. Fine, next one, I swear, I'm gonna say something different. Okay.
Affirmative. Let's start.
Okie dokie.
Okie dokie. So, welcome to the episode for Shadows Flicker Like Flame.
Community stuff.
Woohoo!
Whoop, whoop.
Alrighty, so elephant in the room is that Shadows Flicker Like Flame is the most subpar spirit in the whole game and was in the most need of fixing. So, it is of no surprise that Shadows got not one, not two, not three, but four aspect cards. This is a joyous thing, and yet it is also not a surprise to anyone in the Spirit
At least the
Island
ones that
community.
play Spirit Island often.
That said, Shadows does have a lot of really cool capabilities in the late game and does have a lot of value that is worth salvaging. So today we will be going over all of these new aspect cards that can revitalize the spirit and give them that adrenaline boost into the B and maybe A tiers depending on how good you are with some of these. So
Let's start with C.
optimism.
Yeah.
I was trying to
Baby steps.
The slightly passable tier.
There you
Yes.
go. Anyway, so Shadows got 4 aspect cards. They got Reach, Madness, Amorphous, and Foreboding. Those last 3 increase the complexity of the character, while Reach, of all things, lowers the complexity.
What's lower than low complexity? Lowest.
This is the first spirit that actually lowers
Interesting.
their complexity. We've had other spirits where it keeps it the same.
Yes.
The aspect card that comes in makes the character the same complexity, but we've never had one that's lower. So what in the world? What's lower than low? Is this super low?
Non-existent?
Like so many training wheels, just training wheels on both sides of the bike. Like,
This is like-
it's
yeah.
like a 6-wheeler. Like,
If you
Just
play
downgraded
Monopoly.
it into one of those, like,
it plays
plastic
itself.
cars.
Yeah, you don't even have to
Yes,
play
like
the
those
spirits.
little like
You, can't fall out of this now.
those little electric SUVs that go like 1 mile an hour, and you're like,
Oh,
yeah.
Look at Jimmy go.
Anyway,
Anyway, Reach.
let's get into Reach.
So, Reach replaces the special rule Shadows of the Dahan. It's called Reach Through Ephemeral Distance. Is that how you say that word?
I think
Ephemeral?
Ephemeral distance.
ephemeral. I don't
Ephemeral
care.
distance. Once per turn, you may ignore range.
Oh.
This can be during growth or for a power. Anything for which there's a range arrow or the word range is used. It affects a single action of yours.
Wow.
So I like it, but it can only be done once, and it replaces Shadows of the Dahan. Fun fact: every single one of these aspect cards replaces this special
It's
rule.
almost like the special rule was a bad one.
Well, we've talked about that, where we're like playing it, and I'm like, I don't like this. I don't want to do this.
It's just
Honestly,
the paying for
it's
energy.
dumb.
In the early
Yeah.
game, you're so broke, you can barely use this.
If you do this ability a lot in the early game, you're going to have no money.
Yep.
And if you don't use it because you want to save your money, then you're not using your special rule. I mean,
Because with Earth, it's always being used as long as you have
Yeah.
Sacred Sight.
Oh,
Same
yeah.
with River,
right, those are passive. This is
Yeah.
an active thing
that you have to pay for.
that you have to pay for.
And you start off
So,
Quick, alright, we're already off the rails. How is this different than Trickster, who you also have to pay for if you
add
want
a secondary strife token?
to add a secondary strife token?
Well, I think that Strife works just a little bit differently in a gameplay style. It's a bit more flexible because I think it'll be easier to throw Strife tokens on bad guys out there. But conversely, Shadows of the Dahan says whenever you use a power, you may pay 1 energy to target a land with Dahan in it, regardless of that power's range. Still really cool. This is a sniper ability. This will let you be like, whee! And just do like one of those gummy long shots across the map. But it's
Push.
contingent on the fact that Dahan have to be there. So, how many times have you, when playing a Shadows, were like, quick, do this thing, even if it's far away? Oh, no Dahan there.
Yeah.
Well, crap. And you look and, okay, well, maybe the Dahan's over there, and there's an Explorer. Great. I have this 3 damage card.
But
and
the
it's not
lore
worth
of it's so cool of like there are campfires and the shadows
I love
flickering.
The lore.
And then that's where the spirit is.
The lore is so great.
And if you didn't have to pay money for it, it would be pretty cool. But it's that I'm broke and I can't do anything.
If this was
I think
for
it's,
free,
guys,
it would be amazing.
I think it's the starting at 0 energy on the track.
So when we get into our analysis of Shadows, I think it is at that point that I will get into why Shadows needs 4 aspects. And this one, I think we'll just focus on the aspects themselves, but we'll reference, obviously, the characters' weaknesses as to how these certain aspect cards help them. But
Reach, is it once per turn? Is that like in the slow phase then, or no?
It just says
once per turn, so I think
during growth or for a power.
Right, phase and turn are 2 different things, so that's just the whole time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So yeah, that's all it does. It's really simple.
Just one time?
Once per turn, you may ignore range. Now, just like it said with the clarification, this can be for growth or for a power, anything that uses a range arrow. So that's really flexible. It's nice for being able to be like, Hiya! And going like across the map for placing a presence, or like it said, for an innate or for a power. So depending on what powers you find, that can be really useful. So there is a definite use there, and it's really flexible and it's really easy to understand, especially for someone who's brand new. Even though this character was low complexity already, they did say that even though there are 4 low complexity spirits with lightning, river, earth, and shadows, shadows is the most complex of those low complexity people. So this would maybe bring shadows down from the top of that podium of the most complex low complexity guy to maybe actually the lowest low, or maybe more in the middle somewhere. Point being, reach is an aspect that makes shadows a little bit easier to comprehend. And, you know, I think I can agree with that, because with a beginner, like you were saying, look at lightnings, look at earths and rivers special rules. None of them required you to act. It was all passive. So it's like, oh, there's this thing that's always there, always there, always there. And as you mentioned with shadows, it's like, well, for a new player, it might be kind of difficult where it's like, well, my special can only be used when I actually activate this thing. So now there's like this additional pressure of, when do I do it? Was that worth it? Did I just waste an energy? Was that too much? Was that too little? I don't know. So for some people, this reach card might be actually pretty cool, because you don't have to worry about the whole, did I do it right? Did I not do it right? When should I do it? Should I do it right now? I don't have any energy left. And, oh, well, I could have done this card, but I already spent my energy last turn. Bah!
Because you were kind of using the special rule only once a turn anyway, because you couldn't do it a lot because of the money.
The money.
Right.
And jumping off of that, like lightning changes quite a lot about the fast versus slow. And so it can be confusing for a new person who then is like, wait, everything's fast. And like you almost have to relearn that. But with reach allowing you to only do it once per turn, you still have to pay attention to range. You still have to learn what range is. Just once per turn, you get to ignore it. So
nice.
That could make it easier.
It's solid.
For a,
it's solid. It's not crazy. It's not striking me as like, whoa, but it's like, yeah. Nice.
It helps.
Nice. So there's reach. What about madness?
Madness. Again, it replaces the special rule, Shadows of the Dahan. And its new power is called Shadows Cast a Subtle Madness. When you add a presence during growth, you may also add 1 strife in that lands. And then you get a second rule, Glimpse of the Shadowed Void. When your presence is destroyed, if invaders are present, 1 fear per presence destroyed there.
So adds a little bit of fear and a smidgen of defense to the character, ironically enough.
I find it interesting that's during growth, so you can't really spam this with like greens playing and you're get to proliferation or something.
Also, the growth options for shadows, they only have presence placing options where they can do 1 at a time. There is no double placing one, which means that you can't add 2 strikes. At best, you can only do 1 at a time. So I think this works probably the best with Concealing Shadows, because that's the one that says that Dahan specifically take no damage, which is great. But I've used that card so many times where, the Dahan were cool and they were fine.
But what about
But
you?
then I got killed. And Blight came in.
Yeah.
Well, now I can maybe prevent Blight from happening. Maybe it's like a town and an explorer.
Yeah.
Well, I can go in there, strife the town, play this card, Dahan still don't die. Then the town is strifed when it attacks. Nothing happens. Only the explorer's damage goes through. It's 1, not enough. I'm fine. Dahan counterattack, and we're fine.
There you go.
And even if they did kill me, well, hey, at least this new power, Glimpse of the Shadowed Void, would give me some fear for losing my presence there. So this one's actually pretty cool in that regard, because I always look at shadows and shifting memory memory like that. Or any other power that protects Dahan specifically, but not the land.
Yeah.
Because if you protect Dahan, cool, but that means that you're exposed. And so it's like, and I'm dead.
Especially with Concealing Shadows being range 0.
Yeah, exactly. That's another reason why I feel as if this card, Concealing Shadows, is buffed by this madness aspect.
I kind of wish it was 2 fear if you lost a presence. 1 seems...
Yeah, that seems
very
really...
low.
Yeah, I
Is it
agree.
worth it?
It's not a lot gain from a lot that's getting lost. So.
Yeah. How often did you lose 2 presents?
Right.
I don't know. Anyway.
Oh, well. So there's madness.
That's madness.
Not crazy to understand. This one does increase the complexity.
Yep.
I guess you'd be considered a moderate spirit with this. So you get to add 1 strife when adding a presence. That's not a lot.
Especially in late game when there's more than just one
Right,
building.
and this would be very nice early game, but, I mean, strife is the easiest of the tokens to add, and it's the most temporary. So it's like,
All right, how's Shadows doing, guys?
Not great, Bob.
Okay.
Not great, Bob.
Ryan, save us.
In my opinion, I do honestly think that Amorphous and Foreboding are probably the better 2 of the 4. That's my opinion, of course. We shall see what you all have to say about that. Alrighty, let's look at Amorphous. Once again, this replaces Shadows of the Dahan. With Amorphous, you gain this cool new special called Shadows Partake of Amorphous Space. It says, during each fast phase, you may move 1 of your presence to an adjacent land or to a land with Dahan anywhere on the island. Then, during each slow phase, you may do the same thing. You may move 1 of your presence to an adjacent land or to a land with Dahan anywhere on the island.
This power's awesome, I think.
This one, I think, is actually really cool. So you get to do it twice. Reach only allowed you to do that effect once per turn. This one lets you do it twice. Once in the fast phase, once in the slow phase. This one honestly reminds me of Mist a lot because this gives Shadows Flicker Like Flame some mobility. And you know me, I really like people that have mobility. Because when you look at the starting hand for Shadows Flicker Like Flame, they have 2 cards that are range 0. So when you have a character now that can have some reliable, consistent mobility, range 0 cards are now fantastic. When you are going through the minor and major power deck, you're going to be finding these range 0 cards and you're no longer going to be going, when you look at them because it's going to be like, oh, hey, sweet.
I can get there.
I can get there. We talked about using Steam Vents with Downpour and even Starlight. We talked about using Quicken the Earth Struggles with Trickster, being able to move and use these cool cards. And usually they're cards that are like, because the effect is cooler than usual, but it's range 0, so the card's riskier than usual.
So then I'm looking for Reaching Graphs to make the card effective.
Furthermore, you keep the cool Shadows of the Dahan theme. You're with them, you're buddy-buddy with the Dahan, because you can go to 1 adjacent land or to a land with Dahan in it anywhere on the island. And where would Shadows be?
With the
there would be by
campfires.
campfires where the Dahan are. So it makes perfect sense. And the original Shadows of the Dahan special rule carried that theme with it.
I think this does it better.
And I think this one does it as well, because your shadows flickering like flame, you're flickering, you're dancing shadows. It makes sense for you to move a little bit.
Hero moments.
Especially when you have some of your best cards are range 0.
Right.
So they're very ineffective if you can't go all over the place. We played this
Spoilers.
last night. I'm going to spoil this because otherwise I will forget. I used this with Concealing Shadows, which now you're going to tell me I did it wrong, but...
Oh, it was range 0.
It was range 0, but what I did was I played the card and then, since we're still in the fast phase, played the card and then noped out so that I left the Dahan take no
during
damage,
each fast phase.
but I wasn't there anymore.
Yeah. It just says during the fast
Okay,
phase.
good.
And likewise during the slow phase.
Please stop cheating, Darren.
Well, no, it's true. When you look at
credibility.
Shadows, they do have a lot of
Ryan's
Dahan
like, I'm sure you guys won.
Wink, wink. But Shadows already has a few Dahan manipulating powers with their cards, so it makes sense that you can go ahead and use these Dahan to move them, then put a presence where these Dahan are, so you can be like, yoink, 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 and kind of zip around the map a little bit, which is fun. Also, you can have the wonderfully coveted, what I called the term matrix dodging, that Mist can do. Yes, Mist does this, where Mist will play a card and move out of a land, then the land blights, then the slow phase, get right back in. So you can do that with Amorphous.
You literally can do that.
You really can.
Oh no! Remember how we're talking about Concealing Shadows, how the Dahan take no damage? Hooray! It's range 0. Okay, cool. Play this card, then
Get
out. Then they do damage. Sure, the land blights, but you moved out of there, so you didn't die.
What was the original strategy with this card with Shadows?
You would
in
have
the
to play your
original
special rule and pay him money. So this 0-cost card would turn into a 1-cost card.
Yeah. But then, anyway, going back to my analogy, after...
We all hate original Shadows.
After the Dahan stayed alive because of concealing shadows and the bad guys attacked, didn't do any damage to the Dahan, but blighted the land, but you were fine because you were out of there. Then in the slow phase, yeah, you can come right back in.
I'm back.
I'm back, babe. So, anyway, that's like a fun little thing, and I call that the Matrix dodge. That's something that I do all the time with
We should
Mist.
do, like...
A Matrix theme?
Or, like, a mobile team.
There
Thunder
you go.
Speaker,
Yeah.
Mist,
Sharp Fangs.
Laura loves Many Minds. I keep forgetting about Many Minds.
Sharp Fangs, Many Minds, specifically Amorphous Shadows, and Mist.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Like, isn't
fun.
Downpour also pretty mobile?
If you make it a 5 and 6 player game, let's get Trickster and Starlight or Downpour or...
Downpour, yeah.
Yep, Downpour moves a lot.
That's true.
And if you build Starlight, Starlight can move just as much.
I like my heavy stars.
Yeah.
My thick boy stars.
I'm more of a small star, so I'm more of like
I'm
a
a
sun.
shooting
You're more
star.
like a Beetlejuice or something.
Yeah, just eating up the galaxy.
Beetlejuice shows up in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, so it's the best one.
Oh, I love Hitchhiker's Guide. It's so funny. 42. Anyway, so there is Amorphous.
Amorphous.
I really do think that it is a lot of fun. I haven't done any of these yet, but when I get to play Shadows with an aspect, Amorphous is the first one that I'm going to be doing. Because I've played Shroud of Silent Mist a lot, and I feel as if this aspect, as I've said before, really compares to Shroud of Silent Mist. So I think I can make this work. Like, me with my skill set and my experience set, I can approach Shadows Figure Like Flame with this aspect and do quite well.
That's what I do like playing with you, Ryan, when we just have some tough games going. The way you are able to think like 3 steps ahead and how you're going to move is very cool.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
I thought it's a lot more fun than I originally thought it would be. It's kind of fun to be like, all right, when you have powers that are range 0 and I got to get in there this turn and get out of there that turn and whatnot. It's just, I don't know, I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
So, and it's all thanks to Sharp Fangs.
Sharp Fangs.
I didn't start thinking like that until I started playing Sharp Fangs. So I was like, I really need to figure out how this guy works. And so I was just like, all right, let's just like do 6 games with this guy.
Yeah, I'll always remember our anniversary game that we had Ryan over and played
For France.
And
Yeah.
Ryan played Sharp Fangs and just like beasted.
It was like,
Literally.
oh, this is how that guy works.
It literally clicked
Yeah.
for Laura.
Right, and I had that insane 9 beast attack
Oh,
in that one
it was
land.
so
Oh, so
cool.
great.
It was really neat.
Anyway, so there is Amorphous. What about Foreboding?
Foreboding replaces special rule Shadows of the Dahan. This.
What a shock.
It gives it a second innate. It is called Stretch Out Coils of Foreboding Dread. It is fast, power, range 2, which is nice.
Yeah.
Target land any. If you have 2 air, your other powers may ignore range when targeting the target land. That's cool.
It is.
1 moon, after an action, just any action, generates fear in target land, including from destroying town/city. Push up to 1 explorer per fear or 1 town per 2 fear. You may mix and match. For 2 fire, you will get 1 fear. Plain simple. If you have 2 moon and 4 air, 2 fear if you stack it.
This is a very loaded innate power.
This is an incredible innate power.
And a lot of these low complexity spirits have an aspect that gives a secondary innate. And of the 4 for Shadows, this card is the only one that adds a new innate power. But it's insane, and it's actually pretty easy to trigger as well. 2 air, and then for level 2, a single moon?
A single moon. And I
Literally
like that
every single one of your cards that you start with has a moon.
And when you think about it, I like that it's after an action. It's not after your action.
Your action.
It could be
Yeah, it could be
anyone.
anyone's. So first off, level 1, your other powers may ignore range when targeting the target land.
So you keep that theme of like Shadows
Skipping range.
Yeah.
So if one of your powers can make it, then another one can.
Like concealing shadows.
Right, which is originally range 0, like we discussed, but now can be totally fine.
Yeah.
Which is dope. Then, like you said, after an action generates fear. I'm sorry, doesn't this innate power generate fear in its later levels at level 3 and 4?
Right. So obviously you can, but how many times does Mist generate fear? Or
Right.
think of anyone. Sharp
Right.
Fangs. It's like, boom, thanks for that fear. I'm going to push an Explorer now.
It's one of those self-fulfilling prophecies, and I couldn't help but think of like my favorite one, where it was it was on Facebook, and it was Denethor's Facebook, and it was like this post. I have this idea, and if I get 1 like on this post, I'll send my son up to try to take Osgiliath. And then Denethor likes
Likes
this.
it, yeah.
And then the top comment is Denethor. All right then. Just trying to get rid of Faramir.
I get one like.
If I get at least one like, I'll send Faramir to retake Osgiliath. He
Denethor.
likes it. All right then.
Twisted my arm.
After an action generates fear, and then this power generates fear. All right then.
Explain to me the mix and match. I just want to make sure I'm understanding that correctly.
The whole push one explorer per fear or
Yes.
push one town per 2 fear.
You may mix and match. Does that mean, like, can I use
If
this?
you had 3 fear, it's not, oh, sorry, you chose to move explorers, so you can only move
okay,
explorers.
good.
Or, oh, sorry, you chose to pick towns, so you can only mix towns. If you have 3 fear, you can
do
move
both.
1 town and 1 explorer.
Okay, good.
I think that's what
Nice.
they're referring to.
I think that's
That
what it
makes
means
sense.
too,
Yeah.
mix and match. Because I have played this with Ryan. I just want to make sure I was doing it correctly. Because I did do that.
And I really like that destroying buildings also counts.
Yeah.
This could be really good when playing with Bowden, with
Oh,
Nightmare, with Ocean. You can use this on someone like Lightning who just blows something up, or Thunder Speaker blowing something up. It's flexible. That's what I mean. Like, whether it's a fear person or someone doing damage, a damage dealer or a fear person, you can make use of this.
Unless we forget the original innate power that also generates fear when you destroy explorers. So now you have 2 innates that generate fear. Bodan doesn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
This is a lot of fear. I know Bodan can get, like, cast down the Brine Deep.
Right.
And get, like, 40 fear if you attack a lot of cities. But this is very steady, I feel. Every
Right.
turn, you're generating fear.
And one thing that is honestly super cool is that you can trigger level 3 with your starting hand. You can't quite do fully upgrade level 4 with your starting hand, but my point being is you can do level 3, which is almost to the top, with your starting hand, which means you can be doing power card range ignoring. You can do movement of towns and explorers, and you can generate fear, all 3 of those things right from the get-go. Now, of course, when you get more card play, you'll be able to do this more efficiently and more reliably, of course, but still, this is a multi-action innate that allows Shadows to get some bad guy manipulation, which is, in the early game, really important.
Well, that was the one thing I always struggle with Shadows. I wish it was more like River, where it could be Explorer / Town.
Right.
Shadows was always just very focused on Explorers, but now, with the one moon, I can manipulate towns.
Right, and I mean, you can just like play 2 cards, bam, I have level 1 and 2.
There you go.
And you can move an explorer, and that means, hey, look, there's no more building there next turn. And when you and I did our 2-player game where I was Mist and you were Shadows, you played Shadows with Foreboding.
I did.
And it was incredibly useful when we were playing with another fear character in the form of Shadow Silent Mist, because Silent Mist has a lot of cards that do fear. And so even if you weren't there, sometimes you would play Foreboding on a land that I scared. And so since
True.
I scared them, you were able to push people, which was great. And when you have Shadow Silent Mist moving explorers with Lost in the Swirling Haze constantly, and now you have Foreboding Shadows kind of doing the same thing with stretch out coils of Foreboding Dread, we were shuffling explorers all over the place.
Right.
And they were
stopping builds.
Right, which was really important for the scenario we were doing, which was the unique land types one.
Varied terrains?
Yes,
That's
very
a fun
terrain.
one.
Oh, yeah.
That one was kind of fun, but there were specific lands that you did not want them to go on, because on some lands the explorer is worse, on some lands the builds are
build.
worse, and sometimes on the other lands
It's
the ravage
Yeah, it
is
would
bad.
always
So we didn't
cascade.
want them to build twice on the fertile wetlands, for instance. So it's like, no! So we would constantly
Yeah.
move people around. It was actually really good, really nice. That was actually a pretty cool combo that worked quite well, I think.
I think this might be a good solo play option.
Yeah.
Because you can gather one explorer with your original Darkness Swallows the Unwary. Just gather one explorer. But now with Foreboding, you can push another one. So obviously on the arcade side, people only explore to 2 lands per board, right? But if you stop 2 explorers from building, that stops
That
the
is
build
huge.
in the next turn, and that stops the
Huge.
Ravage in the next turn. You can stop every build in Ravage from here on out.
It's pretty dope. One thing that's really interesting that I think is really cool with this new Foreboding power, if you look at its range, it is the best range power that Shadows has access to. The original innate had to come from range 1 of a sacred site, and all the other cards either targeted another spirit, were range 0, or range 1. This one is range 2. It does not require sacred site, but it's range 2. It's the farthest reaching power they have.
Yeah.
So it's actually kind of nice, kind of refreshing also, though, in a way, because like you said, now even your cards that have range 0 can now be pretty much considered range 2, you know, because your other powers may ignore range when targeting the target land. And it said powers, not, only one of your other powers.
As long as you're targeting that land?
Yeah, it means your entire hand.
Almost fair game.
Seriously, yeah. So I think that's actually really cool. Each one of these has a flexibility.
And shadows can add a presence 3 away, so you can really stretch yourself if you plan for it.
Yep.
Go 3 away like and then go 2 from that.
Lightning could do the add a presence 2 away, then with wind can increase your range by 1.
Mm-hmm.
So you can move 2 away, then boost your range, and then get somewhere really far away. You can kind of do something similar here because add a presence up to 3 away, and that's a restrictions-free 3 away, by the way. So 3 away, which is really far. Then from there, you have a range 2 power that says your other powers can ignore range. So you can go even farther.
Yeah,
so
someone's like, can someone get over there? It's like
right, so that's
5 lands away.
5 lands away of coverage that you have. That's actually really nice.
Yeah.
That's really dope. And Amorphous can also do something like that if they can move, or if there's a Dahan over there, and just be like, I'm over here, buddy. Have you ever seen the Pink Panther intro, like the original Pink Panther intro, where there's all these doors and really?
He's getting blank stares.
No, but I've seen Monsters Inc. with the doors.
What about the Steve Martin
There you
one?
go.
I haven't seen that one either.
In the intro, you know that ba-dum, 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 copyright. Anyways. I'm kidding.
Are we gonna cover it?
Anyway, bringing it to my analogy, you would see the Pink Panther walk behind one door, but he would appear behind another, and then he'd walk behind that one and appear
somewhere else.
The Prestige all over again.
On this door, all over here. In a way, with Amorphous, Shadows
Oh
is doing that. Like, there's a Dahan over here, so am I. Wait, there's a Dahan way over there, so am I. So
I'm
there's like
kind of grumpy because now Finder's less cool. Everyone can do what Finder can.
Amorphous can only happen twice a turn. Once in the fast and once in the slow.
But for
John's getting all defensive over Finder. Like, hold me back, you bad mother.
Only one teleporting spirit.
No one is allowed to teleport but me.
You're gonna kill me.
John just spit Snapple all over his Mac.
I did spit on my Mac.
Anyway, so I think it's cool that they found different ways to capture this idea of teleporting range, whether it's the form of spending an energy to go where Dahan is, or to go and do it once for free each turn, or being able to just, in the slow phase and fast phase, you can just teleport to where they are, or with foreboding, you can go, and if this power can make it, then your other powers can make it. Each one of those is a little bit different, but kind of cool. So
stretches the rules of range.
So there you go. There is Reach, Madness, Amorphous, and Foreboding.
Let's hear what the people had to say.
Let's see what the people had to say. Let's go into the numbers. What did Reddit have to say?
Reddit, we had 42 total votes. Laura, let us know how they voted.
Well, they voted. Coming in at last was Madness with 8 votes. Then Reach and Amorphous split the next 21% each with 9 votes.
So they tied.
So not a lot
Each
better.
had 9 votes.
They tied.
Yeah, Reach and Amorphous. And then winning with 16 votes was Foreboding.
38% of the vote.
To no one's surprise.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that Foreboding won. I am really curious, though, at the other things. Madness was last.
I'm fine with that.
I think I can agree, but Reach just seems so bland. I guess it is solid, though.
Like it makes it simpler for a new person.
So,
and
kind of streamlined,
yeah,
I guess.
Like, at least it's better.
My biggest surprise is that Amorphous was considered so bad, like, on the same par as Reach. I would personally consider Amorphous better than Reach, in my
I would
opinion.
agree with that.
So this is all very new content, and I feel like people aren't playing aspects as much
as new people.
New people. So I think with more playthroughs, I don't know, the community might change or might have a different outlook later on.
I think that's a good, interesting question for all of these, like, including in the vote somehow, like, did you actually play this? Or are you just reading the card? And going, I wouldn't like that.
I hope yeah.
Well, I mean, people know what they like, and so you can come to a pretty accurate, I think, conclusion as to what you're going to like. I mean, heck, I did that.
Yeah,
I think Amorphous was going to be my favorite.
And I think it's the worst, so.
But, you know, it's true, like,
that's what
people
us
are always
Americans
looking
do.
So
We
with
just like
some of the-
pass our opinions.
That's true. But some of like the detail things, like you don't notice aspects about the card
until you do it.
play it.
There's something to be said for actually doing it, But
I'm just trying to explain away why my favorite is on the same level as Reach.
Is Amorphous your favorite?
Maybe it's just because I played it last night, so it's fresh in my mind.
Very fresh.
Yeah.
We all know my mind holds on to things not long.
Yeah, ask Laura in a week, Amorphous Shadows, what?
And she's like, "What is this podcast you
Who
speak of?"
shadows?
I'm sorry, is that like a...
You've appeared many times.
Anyway, so it's not surprising to me that Foreboding took the lead on Reddit, because if I'm being honest, I really do think that Foreboding is the best and would be the best, just because I think having 2 innates for these low complexity characters are really, really nice.
Really add something.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That said, I still think I'd prefer Travel River over Sunshine River. Yes, I know Sunshine adds a second innate, but this one's like...
Yeah, it gets rid of Boon of Vigor, so I don't like it.
One thing, I'm addressing your comment here because it made me think of something, and I'm agreeing with you, but when people open up Jagged Earth, they see 12 new spirits, and they're like, oh, let's look at these cool new people. But like you said, with the aspect, that's not as dramatic, because in effect, we're getting 11 new characters from the aspect, because there's 11 new aspect cards. So that's 11 new low complexity people.
That's a good point.
Or sorry, 11 new spirits, some of which become moderates with their new aspect cards. But you get what I'm saying. I still think, though, that people would rather have a character that is completely new instead of a modified existing character. So, in effect, we're not getting 12 new characters. In a way, if you want to look at it this way, we're really getting 23 new characters.
Which is awesome. Anyway, BGG!
Anyway, so let's see what Board Game Geek had to say. So, on Board Game Geek, the last place was Reach with 6.3%.
Whoa.
I believe on Reddit you said that
Madness was the last.
Madness
with
was our
19%?
last one. Yes.
Yeah.
Ooh. So yeah, 6.3% of the vote went to Reach on Board Game Geek. Then in third place was Madness at 18%. Then in second place was Amorphous at 25%.
Nice.
Much better. Thank
And
you.
then
Laura feels
Foreboding
better.
was taking the lead. Yeah. Foreboding took the lead with 50% of the vote. So
Whoa!
once again,
Fitty.
Tree Fitty. Anyway,
Wow.
so once again, Foreboding took the podium here. Although, in my opinion, I feel as if my emotions align more with BGG's results more than Reddit's. Because Foreboding was the clear winner, then Amorphous was the clear second, and then Madness was third and Reach was fourth. And those are my opinions as well. Now, those, of course, are my preferences and opinions. That's not yours. There is no way to say which one is the best, because that's pretty much a subjective answer. Because you could be really good with one strategy where someone else is good with another. So if both of you are successful, then hey, it doesn't really matter who was better because you both won. So you both won. Yay.
Cooperative.
Everybody gets a trophy.
I really do think Foreboding is probably the more successful one, but I think I myself would have more fun with Amorphous, which is why I like Amorphous. And I kind of have this vein in my body, which is like a fan of the underdog. In life, whenever there's a thing that isn't super popular.
That's why you like to play Incineroar.
Yeah! Wait. Hey!
Incineroar's fun.
Incineroar's trash.
Darkest
Eat
Lyric!
yourself up the
Anyway.
Smash Bros humor.
Once again. Dark Pit! I don't know. I guess the reason why I like these underdog characters is because maybe it's like I feel as if there's this thrill of finding the diamond in the rough and finding something that everyone else ignores and making it work with something that no one else uses. And that makes me unique. That makes me shine light on something that isn't getting any credit. And so I feel as if that's kind of the emotion behind it. Maybe I'm not trying to do a deep dive on the etymology of why I have this feeling with various things, but I really do think, and I honestly do believe I can make the distinction that Foreboding probably will get you more success than Amorphous will, because it's doing a lot more. Amorphous lets you move. Hooray. Foreboding lets you ignore ranges, with some strings attached, of course, with your powers at least, but it lets you move people, it generates fear. This is really nice.
Yeah.
And Amorphous lets you move and let you teleport. No, Amorphous is not letting you change the range on any of your cards. But that's okay, because you yourself are moving.
Yeah.
I have a lot of fun with that personally. Like we said earlier, I really do appreciate mobile characters, so I think I'll have more fun with Amorphous, but I think I would succeed with Foreboding more often.
I think Foreboding is easier to measure how much more you're doing with the fear and with the control. I think Amorphous, it's hard to measure how much more you're doing to affect the game, but I think it is like game state you are having, I don't know, more effect on as well. It's just hard. You can't be like, oh, I got 2 fear from Foreboding.
Yeah, I would agree.
I think they're both good is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but according to Board Game Geek, Foreboding and Amorphous are the best of the 4. Those 2 are the top 2, and I would agree
with that.
My opinions would also align with that.
Well, we got some opinions from the Reddit, some comments.
Let's get into it!
Babe, read them.
I have 3 comments.
Oh. Well.
One from JWAMYR. Jawamir? Mirror?
Whatever.
As someone that only has the base game, these seem really cool.
Yeah.
And that's the comment.
Hey,
Bless up, Jawamir.
Jawamir. They are cool.
It is cool. They are amazing. They are, in fact, really cool, both for what they do and the door of possibilities that they open up for future content that's going to come in with the game.
That is one thing, like, I forget that people are still either getting the base game or only have the base game. So, JK Mushi. Mushi.
I'm
JK
sorry.
Mushi.
JK Mushi, I love your name.
I
That
love
is so
these
funny.
names.
Mushi.
Having picked up Spirit Island a couple months ago, I played Shadows quite a lot.
Why?
A lot of people actually do.
I liked Shadows at first.
Jonathan did, John did, James did.
And would love for it to feel a little less underpowered. We all feel the same way.
Yep.
I'm eagerly awaiting the retail release of Jagged Earth to get my hands on these. Based on the spoiler results, is it just Madness and Reach that will be in the Jagged Earth box? We have an answer to that. You get all 4.
That's right, baby.
JK Mushi, you're going to love these aspects. They really do change the spirit for the better. If you're
Hey,
already a
seriously,
fan of
it's a
Space
single
Shadows,
card. Find a PDF and
it's
print
good.
it.
Oh.
It's
Smart.
really easy. Yes, it's not the real thing, but
Write
it's
the
one
details
card.
on a post-it note.
Yeah, you can
stick it
literally
on top.
just listen to what we said, put it on an index card, and place it on top of the special power.
No, it's not the
Yeah.
real card, but you can get this experience pretty early.
I'm
Because
going to head over to the Reddits and comment that on JP Mushi's right now.
I have one last comment from Reddit. From a one Eric Royce?
Wait, who?
Oh?
What?
Drum roll! Eric Royce was talking about Reach here.
Oh.
Reach looks like not much of a balance change, but it turns out to be pretty relevant, at least at high level of play. Over the past year, one playtester played all 2 spirit pairings, where at least one spirit was Jagged Earth / Promo 2. All versus the same adversary, Scotland 6. They included both base shadows and reach shadows separately, so there is a total of 25 total spirits and 144 total games. Wow, that is a lot for a playtester to do.
Yeah, it's like your daily game.
Yeah, you have to do more than, I don't know, a couple a day. That's a lot. Anyway, good job on that playtester. When they totaled up victory stats, base shadows was a clear outlier. Oof. Games with it had much lower win percentage than any other spirit did, but reach shadows, while still on the low side of normal, was grouped with the others. I can't remember the precise numbers, but it was something roughly like most spirits have a win rate of the range of 75 to 100%. Base shadows was at 30%.
Yeah.
Reach shadows was at 75%.
Hey.
Really drastic.
Yeah.
I expected there to be a noticeable difference, but quite startled at the magnitude of that difference. End quote.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by any of that.
Yeah.
For real.
There's a
the state of base shadows.
45% jump
Yeah.
of win rate.
Well,
Wow.
Reach is for free. Shadows of the Dahan isn't. That's huge. In the early game, I know it's 1 energy, but with energy gain as crappy as
The start.
for this character and how bad it is, spending 1 energy when you want to be saving your energy for other things.
That's true, Ryan. You think like saving 1 energy is not that big a deal, but when you're
Yeah, you have 1 card that's free.
Yeah.
All the rest are cost you money.
Yeah.
And how much money do they cost?
1.
The same cost as your power.
So now you get to do your power for free and may
Yeah.
play another card.
Right, costs the same as your innate.
It's crazy, just like that.
Special rule.
That one change changes that much.
It really does.
So I guess that's the defense for Reach. At least like it helped this one playtester.
Yep. I'm guessing that if they could dial back the clock and go back in time, they might make Reach the actual original special rule. You know what I mean?
I
can
think that's
see
a
that.
mic drop right there. I think that is like.
Well, wouldn't you agree?
No, I think you just hit the nail on the head. Like you said it perfectly.
Yeah.
That probably should have been the rule.
Yeah. Anyway.
Thank you, Eric Rice. I'm sure you have some other thoughts about this game.
Wonder if this dude played him or if he's just looking at the cards.
Thanks for following Untitled Chapter. Hope to hear more from you.
Anytime you want to talk.
I just folded up my rug from like bowing down just a moment ago.
We love your game.
Anyway, now going on to Board Game Geek's comments. So, Kerrigan has a few thoughts. They say, am I alone in thinking that the new ignore range once per turn rule for shadows should just be used as a replacement for the innate that was printed on it originally? Well, hey, that sounds familiar. It makes a spirit, 1, easier for new players, 2, more flexible, and 3, straight up stronger because you already got a low energy economy. So, while the base rule can be used frequently, in reality, it doesn't really come up often. While the new one, it just works. And shadows can use the tiny nudge in power anyway.
I
100% agree.
wholeheartedly.
Yes.
With the coincidental nature of how this comment fed into my last comment,
Yeah.
this feels as if Kerrigan is like commenting to what I just said on the show.
Hey, I already said that.
It happened to be exactly what I was saying, but that's perfect. No, I 100% agree. And the comments here are the exact same. I do think it'd be easier for new players. I do think it's more flexible, and I do think it just straight up makes it stronger. Like Eric said, the win rate went from like, what, 30 to 75?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like 45%
incredible.
right there.
Against Scotland 6.
Yeah. Scotland 6 is hard. Woof. Anyway, Andre comes back. They're the ones that told us about the whole lightning immense was originally a aspect for everyone.
Which was a cool
Anyone.
fact.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So Andre is back again. Hello. And Andre says, Amorphous only moves your presence around. Foreboding, however, is a Swiss Army knife that helps with range, pushing invaders, and generates fear, while Madness just places Strife for free. So, from that comment, it sounds like Andre likes Foreboding the most, and I agree. And the fact that it's a Swiss Army knife. Yeah, Amorphous just moves you around. That basically means your powers are going to be a lot cooler.
Yeah, I just feel like Amorphous is just so much behind the scenes that it's hard to
I feel as if Amorphous is like a dark horse.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think it's still really strong that we're just not getting enough credit for.
But yes, Foreboding is dope in the fact that it gives you
Sure.
background manipulation, fear generating, and it lets you ignore ranges with cards. That is really cool. I think characters that have multi-faceted innates are really strong. Fangs has some of those. Mist has that. Lure probably has the most we talked about. So then James comes and finishes up. You remember James?
We love James.
We like James. James was the one when we were talking about Travel River and Sunshine River and whatnot. And you're like, James is knocking it out of the park.
I do like
This guy.
Well, basically because we agreed.
Yep. Anyway.
Oh, that's James.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's James.
Okay.
Anyway, James says, I think the only issue with Foreboding is the 2 air requirement for the range extension. It can sometimes force your hand just to meet it. I'm sure that's my most frequent misplay when I first started it. It's a lot of tiny thresholds to check. You know, that's actually kind of a really interesting thing. When you look at Foreboding, it has 4 levels, but they're not that hard to hit. It's weird to have small thresholds, but a lot of them. Because you'll be like, oh, I played a lot of cards. Which ones do I accidentally trigger? Oh, well, I technically did level 3 and 2, but I never played 2 air, so I don't get any. Even though technically I got level 2 and 3, but I have to do them in order. So you're like, get excited. Wait, these are easy, right? I remember I told myself these are going to be really easy. Which ones did I get? Oh. Whoops. I didn't get any.
It kind of reminds me of Trickster where you can have like different elements. I like the flexibility.
I like the flexibility too, but I think I agree. It is strange to have this many levels on an innate that are so cheap. Because on one hand, that encourages you and it gets you excitement because, oh, I'm going to be doing this all the time. Which is true, but you still have to remember the order of which you get them. So you still want to be specific with how you play your cards. You still need to think. So, but it is going to be easier than usual.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'd agree with that. And I have yet to play Foreboding, so that would be my concern as well. So now I want to talk about which ones you guys have played as. I know that you talked about your Amorphous game, and John, I alluded to your Foreboding game, but you talk about it.
Like you spoke on earlier, you played Mist and I played Foreboding Shadows. I just felt more flexibility. I think what's tough with the original Innate is that tier system that you're talking about, and it's very difficult to sometimes get even the highest tier. I almost never get. So I like having another option where I'm not only trying to look for Moon or Sun. I can get Air, or I can get other powers that don't have to have fire on it.
Mm-hmm.
What is cool, I didn't get to this, but say you're playing a long game and you're getting pretty ranked up. I did the math. If you do everything, where you generate all your fear, your highest level of innates on Darkness Swallows, the Unwary, and then stretch out the coils of Foreboding Dread, and you play all your cards, in one turn you can get 16 fear.
Dang.
Oh my goodness.
16 fear. You could, if you're playing a 4-person game, you can get a fear card just by yourself.
That's a lot of fear.
From your starting hand, and then Foreboding and your innates.
Dang. That's
Wow.
actually really nice. Seriously, we were talking about how Pandemonium Lightning can get to 11 fear and how good that was.
Yeah, 16.
16.
Right.
And I forget that, yes, Shadows has struggles early on with energy, but
Late
that
game
track,
Shadows is really good.
that
6
ramps up.
Right, 6 energy gain, 5 card play.
Even
Use
from-
growth option 3, you're getting 9 energy
Yes.
and 5 card play. 5 card play actually isn't super common.
No, there's
No.
a lot of 4s, I feel.
The reason why Shadows is frowned upon is because of that lackluster special rule with a hand of cards which isn't the most dramatic and a lousy early game which troubles your mid game. But if you can slog through all of that, you actually do get a really good late
Powerful
game.
spirit.
Right.
You can go for majors with this spirit. Like you said, you can get 9 energy. It was a really fun game, and we ripped through the fear deck. Because just being able to constantly generate fear, obviously from Miss, but just me from Foreboding or the first original innate, it just felt like I was doing more with this spirit than I ever had before.
Yeah.
So,
And that's ultimately what we're looking for. We want to find a way and various ways to breathe new life into Shadows. We want to find an excuse that actually warrants your time with, hey, I want to play this character. The artwork was really cool. I always liked the theme, the lore, but the gameplay was just so not my style or not as fun as these other characters that it was a shame that the character wasn't as good as other ones, because there's some good things here that are worth salvaging, and there's a late game that's pretty fun to experience once you get there. But, it's such a slog. Well, now these new cards, these new aspect cards can really help you with that early game so that your mid game isn't as bad and you can get to your late game a little bit more reliably because you're actually going to be playing a game with this character.
I mean, J.K. Mushy from Reddit said that. It's like,
Right.
really like the spirit, but it felt lackluster.
Right. So all the veterans out there will understand the angle we're coming from because a lot of them use Shadows as well. It's not like this character is literally useless. We're using these jokes with hyperbolic verbiage.
Sure.
To anyone who doesn't really play the game or hasn't played a whole lot, the biggest issue with this character, like we said, is that early game. And none of us are ignoring the actual use this character can have. It's just, this is a character that easily has it the hardest of all the other characters. So that is why you hear people making jokes about it. But there is a value there.
Yeah.
And we joke about this character a lot, and this is our Oliver twist. You know, a character that actually does have a lot of dreams and stuff and, value, but everyone beats up on them for some reason.
Look at anyone's tier list ever that's ever posted ever.
Yeah.
Shadows is D.
Shadows is really low. Yep. I mean, there was 4 aspects. No one got 4 except for this guy. This is the most. There's a reason for that.
I think this might be one of the best fear spirits now if played with Foreboding. I think the town control really changes things, the extra fear.
Reminds me a lot of Nightmare.
Yeah.
Amorphous makes you act a lot like Mist, and Foreboding makes you act a lot like Nightmare. Because Nightmare is causing fear and is moving towns and explorers.
Yep.
Foreboding causes fear and moves towns and explorers.
I know Nightmare can have crazy turns where you destroy 2 cities and get 10 fear.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yep.
But that's not consistent, I feel, as Shadows can be.
Quotation marks are on the word destroy.
Destroy.
2 cities, yeah.
Because then they're also not taking it off the board. And
Yeah.
you're
They remain.
playing Shadows, you are also removing things as well as getting all
So
of that fear.
Good point. I like actually being able to destroy things.
So
and
you
still be a
could
fear
arguably
spirit.
say that Foreboding is a version of Bowden that can just kill people.
Yeah, that's what I'm
that
Better
can,
version.
in a way, still
if that's what
act
you
like
like.
Nightmare, but also interact with the physical realm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's actually pretty cool because a lot of people are enticed by Nightmare, but then they see the whole you actually can't kill people. Like, you can't interact with the physical domain. They're like, oh.
So that's why Ocean really helps.
Yeah.
With something like that. Laura, you played Amorphous.
I will say my favorite time ever playing Shadows was when I just said screw it and played all of them at the same time.
Frankenstein. Frankenmonster.
I had no idea what was going on, and I loved
steroid-ridden.
it.
Hey,
how did you...
it's a board game. Do what's fun, man.
I don't know how you even kept up with all the 4 rules.
I did not.
Oh, okay, cool. I'm like having this mental
This
image
is
in my
called
head of
Spirit Island Freestyle, Fridays at 9.
John was
Join
like,
us on
"Babe,
Twitch. No,
Babe, tonight we should each play the low complexity spirits with an aspect. And I was like, I don't wanna. He's like, let's do it. I'm like, fine, I'll play all of them. And so I had Earth and Shadows with everything.
I'm just having this
It's
checklist
great.
now. I'm trying to like figure which one of our wins are actually like wins.
No, many of them are.
Wait,
No.
talk about the one card you picked up that helped you.
Domesticated animals go berserk. Yesterday when I was
yes.
playing Amorphous, because I could move myself all over the place. Domesticated animals go berserk. Costs 1 money. It is bird.
Fast.
It has a range of 0,
Ooh.
and it targets cities and towns. And it's 1 fear and defend 5. But if you have 3 moons, you get to add a beast token.
And literally every single one of Shadow's starting cards has a moon on it.
Exactly. And then because its range is 0, I was playing Amorphous, which means that I was able to move all
with
over
them.
the place.
Yeah.
So usually you pick up those range 0 defend cards and you're like,
Seriously,
oh yay, I
that
can
card
use
is
this in 5
perfect.
places. But this time it really was effective. And we weren't putting very many beasts on the board when we play with events. So, it's always like
Yeah.
the beasts, so they're not doing anything because we have 2 of them
Right.
sitting
Yeah.
over there in the mountain.
Concealing Shadows is free, and Amorphous allows you to teleport where Dahan are. And where do you want to have defense usually?
Where the Dahan are.
Where the
To fight
Dahan
back.
are. And it's defend 5.
To be honest, I also think I half the time forgot that I could go wherever the Dahan were.
Yeah. Hey, but moving to an adjacent land is still useful.
I did do that
You
a
were
lot.
moving a lot, so
I was.
But-
And we were like racking up the fear.
So we only won because of Laura.
As always.
Well, I was playing
That's
Earth.
right.
I was playing Earth. Sometimes I just get in these modes where I'm just play too stally. I just like
Let it build up.
There is the temptation when playing a stall character to keep doing it.
Yeah.
And the problem is stalling
I do
a
that too.
problem
It's the worst.
doesn't right. Stalling only prolongs a problem. It doesn't solve it.
Right.
So the more you stall, the more you're going to need to.
So I was
and
playing
that's
Year
the
of Perfect
problem.
Stillness a lot.
And that's my only problem with that card. It's not an actual problem. It's just a concern, something that the player needs to be aware of.
Mhm.
The more you play Year of Perfect Stillness, the more you use it, the more you need it.
Right.
And so it's like this drug where you're like, I don't want to become dependent on it. Oh crap, I'm depending on it.
I'm like, well, I don't want
You're
to play.
using
so
Gift of
this-
Strength to copy this one. Stop. But
So, luckily
seriously,
we had Laura generating fear to
Domesticated
get us
Animals
wins.
Go Berserk is so perfect because it's exactly what the character needs with the capability to go exactly where this character wants it to happen and can get Dahan counterattacking, which this character already has within their function anyway.
And you mentioned it had a moon element. It also has a fire element, and that is useful for that innates. So
Yes.
It was pretty awesome.
yeah.
Yep.
I enjoyed.
When we get to analysis, one of the things we're going to do is the cards that can be found in the major and minor power deck that are just perfect for certain spirits. This is one of them. For Amorphous Shadows, Domesticated Animals Go Berserk is one of the perfect cards.
It won us the game.
It really did.
For Volcano, one is Gold's Allure is just perfect. Absolutely perfect. Storm Swath for Lightning, perfect.
Yeah.
Jungle Hungers for green, perfect. Sweep into the Sea, Tsunami for ocean, perfect.
Oh, I could have a whole episode on Jungle Hungers. It is just one of my favorite powers.
Love that card.
So cheap, so
I love it.
destructive.
So wonderful. Anyway, so there you go. There are the aspects for Shadow's Flicker Like Flame. Next episode, we're going to close this series out with Vital Strength of the Earth. I do think that Shadows is now viable for a lot of things. I do think Amorphous and Foreboding, like we said, are the best, but I'm glad that we have choices now and flexibilities, and honestly, it's refreshing to have this character not be in the basement anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's really nice to be like, yay, this character can actually be considered for things.
Because when
Yeah.
we talk about analysis, the starting hand's pretty strong, especially with fear generation with shadows.
With these aspects, anyway.
With the aspects
Yeah.
tied with the
But
starting
I
hands,
do-
it can go crazy.
My favorite part about having Shadows on the team in the past usually has been the downgrading. That's probably my favorite one. Crops, Wither, and Fade. Because that is so nice. It gets you 2 fear and you can downgrade people. Which is so great
Especially
for the
late
purposes
game when you're
of...
like, we need to get
oh,
cities
yeah.
off the board.
For the purposes of meeting terror level requirements. Oh, this card can just be like such a dark horse, wonderful boon to have. So anyway, there you go. Until next time, have fun gaming, y'all!
Bye!
Farewell.
You're so awkward.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Kindred Spirit Podcast. We appreciate you taking the time to do so. feel free to visit us on our Instagram and Facebook page. You can find me on our Facebook page at The Kindred Spirit Podcast. To get a hold of John, check out our Instagram page at the KSP123. We look forward to hearing from you and seeing you in future episodes.